Vishnu. All right, so you wanted to take a deep dive into the world of business, and that's exactly what we're going to do today.
Yeah, unpack all the nuances and insights presented in this audio you sent over.
Right, and it's particularly fascinating because the speaker in your audio, Vishnu, really emphasizes that this is all coming from his own knowledge and experiences.
Not necessarily like textbook definitions or anything.
Exactly. It's like a firsthand account of how he views the business world.
So definitely a lot of practical wisdom to glean from.
Absolutely. So let's jump right in and see where it all begins.
Okay, sounds good.
So right off the bat, the audio kicks off with a really basic concept, like what is a business? And the speaker boils it down to providing a service to a customer who has a need.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. You have the business person who's selling or offering the service, and you have the customer on the other end who's buying it.
Right, but here's the key thing that the speaker highlights. It's the aspect of scale that truly makes it a business.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just like a one-off transaction or helping your neighbor out with something.
Right, you're not running a business if you're just mowing your neighbor's lawn once.
Exactly. It's about serving a large group of people, meeting the needs of a much wider audience.
And that naturally brings in things like employees' manufacturing processes, the whole shebang.
Yeah, all those operational complexities that come with operating at a bigger level.
And you know what's interesting? The speaker takes this idea a step further.
Yeah, how so?
He actually describes business as a technique.
That's intriguing. What does he mean by that?
So he uses this example of a plastic bottle.
Okay.
And he says it's all about identifying a purpose, like in this case, providing a container for water.
Makes sense.
And then figuring out the technology or the method to fulfill that purpose in a way that's actually useful to people.
So it's problem solving, but elevated to a much larger scale.
That's a great way to put it. It's not just about coming up with a random invention. It's about seeing a problem that a lot of people face and then designing a solution that you can provide to a whole bunch of them.
And often it's about refining something that already exists rather than creating something entirely new.
Oh, totally. And he gives some specific examples for the water bottle.
Oh, yeah, like what kind of improvements is he talking about?
So he talks about making the bottle from a stronger material, so it's more durable.
Okay, that's practical.
Better grip. So it's easier to hold, those flimsy bottles that slip out of your hand.
Oh, yeah, totally. I hate when that happens.
And then ensuring you can actually see the water level inside clearly.
Oh, that's a good one.
And of course, making it super easy to wash because hygiene is important.
Yeah, definitely all very practical enhancements.
So you've got this great idea, a better version of something people are already using. But here comes the real kicker.
The catch?
Pricing.
Ah, yes, the eternal dilemma.
Because the speaker makes it very clear, business isn't about giving things away for free.
Right. It's an exchange of value. There's a cost involved.
Exactly. And even if your product is 10 times better than the competition,
if the price is outrageous,
people just aren't going to buy it.
Makes sense.
And this leads into a really interesting discussion about how customers approach buying decisions.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear his take on this.
So he sets up this hypothetical scenario. Imagine you have 1 crore people.
Wow, huge number.
And you divide them into 10 sets based on their mindsets when it comes to buying.
Okay, interesting. So 10 different consumer profiles.
Yeah, and he points out that these groups have different priorities.
Like what?
So you've got one segment that's purely focused on the lowest price point possible.
Makes sense. There are always bargain hunters.
And they're willing to compromise on quality, even if it means they have to replace things more often.
Yeah, you get what you pay for kind of thing.
Then you have those who want good quality, but they still need to keep it affordable.
Yeah, that's probably a pretty big segment. Most people want value for their money.
Right. And of course, you've got the folks who are all about brand loyalty.
They stick with what they know and trust.
Yeah, they're willing to pay a premium for that peace of mind.
So he's basically saying that the market isn't one big homogeneous blob.
Exactly. There's so much diversity in how people approach buying.
And their financial situations play a huge role too.
Oh, absolutely. Some people are impulsive shoppers. Others are super cautious.
And wait for sales. Others are all about minimalism.
It's a complex tapestry of human behavior.
And it makes you realize how difficult it is to create a product that truly resonates with everyone.
Even if your product is objectively amazing.
Yeah, you're always going to have some segments you miss.
And this brings up a crucial question. How do you actually achieve success in such a fragmented market?
Right. What strategies does he recommend?
So the speaker lays out a few key things. First, he says, you got to aim to appeal to a sizable chunk of the market.
Okay, so don't try to please everyone. Just focus on a significant portion.
He throws out a number, at least 8 out of those 10 mindset groups.
Wow, that's ambitious.
And he emphasizes the importance of retail acceptance.
Ah, yes, getting your product on the shelves.
Because shops aren't going to stock something they don't think will sell.
Makes sense. They have limited space and they want to maximize their profits.
Right, so it's all about convincing them that your product is going to fly off the shelves.
And that leads back to understanding your target customer and their needs.
Totally. And then he dives into 3 specific strategies.
Okay, all ears.
Number 1, improving product quality and user friendliness.
So basically, making your product the best it can be.
And solving those pesky problems that people have with existing solutions.
Right. Addressing those pain points.
Number 2, keeping prices under control, ethically, of course.
Of course, no price gouging.
And then he throws in this really blunt one, killing the competition.
Wow, that sounds a bit aggressive.
I know, right? But he clarifies what he means.
So it's not about actual violence.
No, it's more about strategic price reduction.
Ah, okay, so like undercutting the competition.
Exactly. And he explains how businesses can ethically lower their prices.
I'm curious to hear this.
It's all about the power of bulk manufacturing.
Oh yeah, economies of scale.
When you buy raw materials in huge quantities, you often get better deals.
Right, suppliers are more willing to negotiate.
And then you can pass those savings down the line.
From manufacturing to distribution to the final price tag.
And he even gives this cool example of China's government policies.
Oh, what do they do?
They actually encourage large-scale manufacturing by offering tax incentives and other benefits.
Interesting. So they're creating an environment where it's easier to produce goods at lower costs.
Exactly. And that makes their products more competitive globally.
Yeah, it's a smart strategy.
So the big advantage for businesses is that they can offer higher quality products at lower prices.
That's a winning combination.
It's a powerful way to attract customers and gain market share.
And what about dealing with competition from new players trying to enter the market?
So he talks about creating barriers to entry.
Like what kind of barriers?
He mentions things like technical innovation, keeping certain formulas or processes secret.
Ah, so it's about having a unique edge that others can't easily replicate.
Exactly. If you've got some special sauce that makes your product stand out.
It makes it harder for newcomers to compete right away.
Especially since they need to invest heavily to reach the same level of production and efficiency.
Right, they can't just jump in and match your prices without taking a hit.
And you know what else he points out? Business isn't just about numbers and strategies.
There's more to it.
Yeah, he talks about the emotional side of things.
Oh, interesting. Like what?
Understanding customer needs on a deeper level.
Yeah, building that connection with your audience.
He also emphasizes the importance of professional expertise.
Knowing your stuff inside and out.
Having a scientific understanding of your product or service.
So it's not just about gut feelings, there's a technical element too.
And social awareness too. Keeping up with trends, knowing what's happening in the world.
Right, staying ahead of the curve.
And of course, economic acumen, managing your finances wisely.
Yeah, business is about making smart decisions with your money.
So it's really a multifaceted endeavor.
It's not just one skill, it's a whole toolkit.
And now let's circle back to that water bottle example.
Okay, why is that?
He brings up this interesting concept of creating need.
But people already need water bottles, right?
That's true. But he's talking about creating a perceived need through marketing and advertising.
Ah, so it's not about a fundamental need, it's about making people feel like they need it.
Exactly. You tap into trends, social influences, aspirational messaging.
So people buy it because it's cool or trendy, not because they're dying of thirst.
Right, and it's a powerful way to drive sales even if people don't objectively need another water bottle.
It's about playing on desires and perceptions.
And then he brings up this really fascinating case study.
Oh, what's that?
The entry of Jio into the Indian telecom market.
Jio, I remember that.
It was a classic example of disrupting an entire industry.
Absolutely. They shook things up big time.
So Jio had this massive backing from its parent company, Reliance.
Yeah, a huge conglomerate.
And they launched with this crazy offer.
What did they do?
3 months of completely free, unlimited mobile services.
Whoa, that's unheard of.
Right. And they could afford to do that because Reliance had deep pockets.
They were willing to take a short-term hit to achieve a long-term goal.
Exactly. They knew they could absorb the losses in the beginning.
So their goal was to grab a huge chunk of the market.
And people flocked to Jio like crazy.
Yeah, who wouldn't want free, unlimited data?
It was a massive blow to existing players like Airtel and BSNL.
They lost tons of customers.
And he even mentions this clever tactic they used.
What was that?
They extended the free service but with a tiny one-day gap.
Oh, like a technicality.
Yeah, it was like they were complying with some regulations.
But in reality, it meant people got almost 6 months of free service.
It was brilliant, and it completely reshaped the telecom landscape.
So they essentially changed the rules of the game.
And then once they had a huge user base, they slowly started increasing prices.
Smart move by them. People were hooked.
It's a classic example of how a well-funded and strategic player can disrupt an entire market.
Yeah, it's a fascinating case study.
And then he gets into different business models.
Oh, yeah. I'm curious to hear how he categorizes them.
He outlines 4 main models.
Okay, let's hear them.
Model A is the traditional profit margin approach.
So, like, you buy something for 8, sell it for 10, make a profit of 2.
Exactly. Pretty straightforward. And this is where you see a lot of competition.
Yeah, because it's a fairly accessible model for new businesses.
Then you have Model B, where the profit margin is super low.
Like razor-thin margins.
Maybe you buy for 9, sell for 10, so your profit is only 1.
But the idea is that it discourages new competition.
Yeah, because who wants to enter a market where the profits are so small?
It's like a natural deterrent.
Then you have Model C, no profit at all.
So essentially a non-profit model.
Yeah, you buy for 10, sell for 10.
And obviously there's not much competition there.
Because the motivation isn't financial gain.
Right, it's about serving a purpose or a mission.
And then he throws in this really mind-boggling one Model D.
What's that?
Selling at a loss.
Wait, how does that even work?
You buy for 10, sell for 9.
So you're losing money on every sale.
On the surface, yeah. But he explains how big companies can actually pull this off.
I'm all ears.
It's all about the massive scale of their operations.
Ah, economies of scale again.
So even though it might seem like they're losing money on each unit,
their overall production costs are so low that they're still making a profit.
Exactly. And this creates a huge barrier to entry for smaller players.
Right, because they can't achieve those same economies of scale.
They'd actually be losing money if they tried to match those prices.
It's a fascinating strategy.
So yeah, Vishnu, we've covered a ton of ground in this deep dive into the world of business.
Really insightful stuff.
For the importance of scale and cost effectiveness.
To understanding customer psychology and competitive strategies.
And I think it's especially relevant for you as you're building your YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, definitely parallels to content creation.
Because attracting and retaining viewers is kind of like attracting and retaining customers.
You need to understand your audience, their needs, and how to provide value.
Absolutely. And I think this final thought from the audio is worth pondering.
What's that?
He asks, which of these business models do you see most prevalent today?
Interesting question.
And what are the long-term implications for innovation and consumer choice?
Yeah, because if certain models dominate,
it could shape the landscape of business for years to come.
Definitely something to think about.
So Vishnu, I hope you found this deep dive insightful and helpful.
And best of luck with your YouTube channel.
We're rooting for you.